And speaking of simple beats, let's take a look at some 4 on the floor kick drum patterns. Double click on this one here, 4/4 with hats. I'm going to take a listen to it by launching the clip. Very fast. I'm going to warp it. Take a look at things here. I'm going to mouse over and magnify. I can see that this transient is slightly late, so I double clicked right at the beginning of the transient here and slide it right over to 1.2. Magnify back out so I can get a bigger view. Over to the next transient. I can also see that this one's a bit late. Double click on it, drag it over to the bar. One more time. Double click, drag it over. So I put in 4 warp markers, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm now going to loop the track. It's a 1-bar loop, and I'm going to launch my clip. Perfect loop. Let's take a look at another clip. This is Tech House. A little bit more complicated, but not too bad. Now I can see that there's some major hits here. There's a little hi-hat patterns in between, but that's okay. So I'm going to go ahead and warp. I'm going to listen to the track again now that it's warped. So the main important one is this one right here, because this is the beginning of bar 2. So I'm going to double click right on the transient, right about here, and move that to 2. Okay. So when I'm doing this is I'm pinning the waveform to the bar, right? So I'm moving this and I'm dropping it right on 2. Then I'm going to go ahead and look at some of my other guys here. 2.2 is late. I'm sorry, he was early actually. Take a look at 2.4. You don't need to put warp markers in on every single transient, but I am taking a look at everything. 2.3 is really close. Okay, how are the ones? 1.3 also a little bit late. Okay, let's try that one. Here we go, Tech House. Good. So it's not looping yet, so I need to engage the loop. And I want my loop to be actually 2 bars, so I can just type that in, 2, and it will snap to a 2-bar loop. Here we go. Perfect. Now if I wanted to split these 2 clips onto different tracks, I can just create a new audio track by saying insert audio track or Command T. Then I can slide over my 4/4 with hats, put my Tech House up into the next clip slot, and play them together if I wanted to. So here's our 4/4 with hats. Here's our Tech House playing together. So let's try something a little bit more difficult. This one's called Beat. Let's take a look. It's not too hard because I can still see clearly marked transients here. So I know that these are downbeats. So I'm going to go ahead and hit warp. Same thing, just going to start moving these warp markers around. Look at my big numbers. A little bit late. That's fine. And as I mentioned, it just takes practice. You just really need to practice. And I would definitely recommend practicing with simpler beats and waveforms. Okay, let's try this one. Fine. I'm going to go ahead and loop it. We have a 2-bar loop. I'm going to move this beat over to this track. I'll launch Tech House along with it. Cool. Stop all the clips. Let's try this one down here. This is a nice one I got from the DubTech sound pack that I love. Check it out. This is rim shot pattern. Pretty repetitive. There's a little bit of shuffling in the middle part there. So let's hit the warp on this one. Once again, I'm going to go into the middle of the pattern. I can see that it's an 8-bar pattern. So I'm going to check out 5 and just see how it goes. Yeah, it's almost right there. It just needs to be moved just a little bit. And I'm going to double click to create that warp marker. Then I'm going to loop my pattern. It's an 8-bar loop. I can just type in 8. Magnify back out. And let's launch that. So if I just wanted to loop the first part of it, I would just drag my loop brace over to the beginning, the first half of the phrase. So now I've got a 4-bar loop ending at bar 5. And maybe I want to duplicate this one. Give it another color. So I'm duplicating my loop. So now the blue one is going to possibly be the second half of the bar. There we go. So I've got the green one, just like a reggaeton, the green one starting on the first bar, and the blue-green one is starting on bar 5. So I can bounce back and forth between the two. I can, of course, add the other beats and start jamming out. So this would be the basic setup for exploring different beats and how they work together, maybe making a basic arrangement by launching different clips. Also, this is kind of the foundation of DJing with Ableton. You would launch one track, cue up the second one. If they're both warped, they're going to play in sync with each other. One more thing I'd like to show you is how to warp a whole song and how to create different cue points within that track.